So what keeps me busy is to reimagine how our people, our data, our tech, and decisions come together to serve the strategic ambitions and goals of the organizations. And insurance is a risk business, but a risk business for our brokers and customers. So in order to serve them like the way we've never done business before, faster, but also smarter. It's getting the goods of the tradition, but fusing it with the innovation and serving it better than ever before.
Welcome to Data and AI Mastery, the podcast where we bring you cutting-edge insights, practical advice, and inspiring stories from the leaders shaping the future of data and AI across the globe. I'm your host, Raoul-Gabriel Urma, founder of Cambridge Spark, the leader in transformational data and AI upskilling, career development, and progression. In each episode, I will be diving into real-world case studies of companies harnessing the power of AI to drive innovation, reduce costs, and create new business opportunities. So whether you are an aspiring data scientist, AI engineer, or seasoned executive, this show is designed to give you the tools and knowledge to stay ahead in a world where data is transforming every aspect of business. Stay ahead, stay inspired, stay masterful. Welcome to Data and AI Mastery. Hello, hi Indy, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you, Raul?
I'm doing great. I'm really looking forward to our conversation, Indy. You have such an interesting story to share. And you're the Chief Data Officer now at Intact Insurance. So I'd love to ask you, and it's useful for others, like what do you think prepared you to make the most out of this role?
I think years of my practice is not about having titles, and I've always said that I'm not precious about that. But what I really enjoy is what I accomplished through the role for the organization, how tangibly I bring options to the table, but also how I solve those problems creatively. So I just want some intellectual challenges which I solve and I get soul satisfaction out of it. So I think that's what prepared me for this role.
So what does the role involve? Like, can you describe to us, like, what keeps you busy at the moment and what you're looking to achieve?
And so when I joined RSA or Intact now as a chief data officer, my goal was just not to be the CDO, come modernize the data systems. That's not how it was. So what keeps me busy is to reimagine how our people, our data, our tech, and decisions come together to serve the strategic ambitions and goals of the organizations. And insurance is a risk business, but a risk business for our brokers and customers. So in order to serve them like the way we've never done business before, faster, but also smarter. Also, that's what is the view. It's getting the goods of the tradition, but fusing it with the innovation and serving it better than ever before.
You mentioned that one of the first things you have to think about is how do you modernize the environment. Can you talk us through, like, what are the challenges in setting up a team from scratch and like growing it and coming to more of a legacy organization? How does that work in practice?
Personally, as I said to you, whether I'm doing data, whether I'm doing tech or business change or whatever it is, right? The four most important thing is people. People make business. That's what we say in Intact. People make business. People grow business. We are a people business, right? So when I joined, as I said to you, it wasn't just about modernizing data, right? It was to reimagine the whole people, data, tech, and decision ecosystem we have. We started with a business which is rich in data, but we were limited in silos. There are still legacy processes. We have like around tons of legacy application like any other organization, and a traditional view of what data could do and achieve. That's where we started. But then, we had to redefine that. Data was often like a back office function. It was not a strategic lever or a driver for transformation. The first thing is I didn't begin with technology. We began with people. We created a culture where every team, from underwriting, pricing, claims, we all came together as one team and became data curious. We started like with an iterative approach. Where is the biggest impact for the organization is? We chose that. We said, I'm not going to build an ivory tower, right? Like, but I will look at the measurable impact for the business and I will start my data journey there. And those are the use cases today, and those are the teams today, which became cross-functional squads. And we embedded like data translators from those teams and the business teams from those teams and the business teams, and designed agile data products, not static reports, right? So it's not just a CDO team embarking on a data journey. It's a collective organization embarking on a data journey. And and it's been tough, yes. Has it been sometimes painful? Yes. Has it been rewarding? Yes.
Nice. Well, if I play this back, then it sounds like in the in this context of reimagination, what I'm hearing is that maybe data was thought as a back office type of a function, and you came in and you thought, well, actually, data is for every team, so let's really get the whole business engagement and kind of pull out the needs, the use cases, and how you can drive, I guess, value forward. So, what was the process to do that? Like, how did you get everyone together and ensure that they think about being data curious and you collaborate on use cases together? What did that look like in practice?
So as in practice, it's more about the education and building those trust and human relationships, right? It does not come easy. It's more about like what each one of us have to uh, have to contribute to the larger good. So I think what I really love about where I work today is they've gone in a journey very similar to us, but in a bit larger scale. Can I just say we have the world's fourth largest data and AI lab and Intact in Canada. So they've gone in the journey, right? We are like in the eighth or ninth year of that. So they know it's not a 1 year, 12-month, 18-month program. They know it's a continuous journey. They have benefited from the data and AI capabilities they have grown and developed. Intact's a household name in Canada. So they know that's their bubble. And when you have such good sponsorship and leaders sitting in the UK and Europe who actually understand that that's the journey they want to go into, my life becomes much easier. I don't think it has been very difficult. Has it been bit emotional? Has it been like educating continuously? Has it been gaining that momentum? Yes. So it's more about top down, right? When your CEO commits, like often our CEO says data is the lifeblood around what this organization is evolving. That's his own words. So things like that actually makes it easier for you to go down into the organization where you feel like data is not a thing some team owns, but it's for everyone. You're the data owner, we are just an enabler for you. So it's putting that power into somebody else's hand and developing that trust and building upon it, and not saying like data's we are a central data team, so you don't have a job in your business world. It's not power grabbing fight here, right? It's more about let me help you to help me back.
Yeah, that's great, and it sounds like it's super important to have that executive sponsorship, right? You said the CEO, is kind of like recognizing it's part of the company's DNA and business model, so that's kind of like driving the conversation. So I really like that. Now, earlier you said that this journey was, there were some challenges, there was a bit of pain, and there's also some reward. Can you walk us through a little bit, what are example of challenges you faced and reward?
The challenge is always the cultural shift, winning hearts and minds, right? It does not come easy. Imagine data is always not just in the organization I am in. Data has always been like in the ground floor, and the business strategy is in the top floor, right? And when there are people in two different floors, they don't know how this household runs. So bringing them into the same floor is a tedious journey, and making those tangible outcomes visible is also tedious. Like, actually, what am I doing? I can do multiple data initiatives like data management, data platform building up, bring the costliest of tools, and do all that, but if you don't train them, if you don't educate them, if you don't bring them into the same line as yourself and actually bring those cross functional collaboration and co-create things, I don't think we'll ever be successful. And that's hard, right? If I turn up on one particular day and saying I'm the CDO, I'm going to tell you this, listen to me, nobody's going to do it, right? It takes effort, it takes true momentum, it takes persuasiveness, it takes a hard work. Show that I can do and deliver things. It's not easy, but it's deeply rewarding, because once today, from I had a conversation with my manager, the group CIO, today. The fantastic journey we've had in the last 2 years as to like how we have grown from building data foundations to actually delivering value, and now looking at a prosperous AI journey ahead. It's deeply rewarding to hear that from somebody like him, who's actually data savvy, who knows what he's doing, who's one of those CIOs who's doing a transformational journey, not just at one level, but multiple levels, business, tech, and data. So it's very rewarding. It's absolutely rewarding.
I can totally imagine that, bringing people on the journey and from a cultural point of view, seeing the excitement and starting to, use data to make, I guess, sound decisions, but also increase the, I guess, the accuracy of risk management. So on must be like really rewarding. I hope you're enjoying today's conversation. If you're finding the insights useful, please do take a moment to subscribe to the Data and AI Mastery podcast and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. Every new follow helps us reach more people and shed the incredible work being done by today's data and AI leader. All right, let's go back to the episode. I guess I'm curious to hear, as part of your journey over the last couple of years, what were like early signs of not just cultural impact, but commercial impact that kind of like you saw throughout?
Cost efficiency, but also there is advantage in the market we are creating through our data products, which we are producing through the central data function at Intact. It's all about creating those competitive advantage, whilst carefully working on what is the operating ratio and reduction we are creating for the organization, which is maximizing the efficiency, whilst actually not just being in the defense but going in the offense, right? Like, okay, what is the amount of risk which data can help you to allow you to take, in terms of how you price, how you underwrite. It's a simple business role, right? Like, you know how insurance industry works. It's like the more you submit, the more submission you get, the more you quote, the more you quote, the more you actually turn that into a policy. The more policies, the more premium, the more premiums, the more profit, right? So that's what we
Yeah.
are embarking on, and that's what we are all working towards.
I guess for your team, what does success look like, fast forward a year's time?
Actually, this is very interesting. I asked the same question to my manager, the CIO, right? You know what he told me? Actually resonates with me so, so well. Basically, he said, if in 1 year's time, if we can tell a data story so simple that the business will be able to say, yeah, I want more of that. Can you do more things for me? Right? Rather than saying, oh, I don't understand. What do you mean by this data management? What do you mean by like ownership? What do you mean by stewardship? What does this tool do? Instead of that, if people can understand the data story simply and can understand the benefits we are bringing to the table tangibly, and that's making data simple. That's success for me and the team in the next 12 months.
Super clear. That's great. It's nice to think about it from a, I guess, an outcomes point of view rather than kind of like internal complexity and technicalities,
Oh,
which often people don't don't have to appreciate anyway, right?
no, absolutely. They do, like, it's not just Excel sheets and spreadsheets, right? Data is beyond that. Data is not building dashboards. More often, we actually put more data in the hands of underwriters, claims processors, pricing analysts, than necessary. And then you are actually in a decision paralysis, right? Like, how am I going to make the decision? So having the right data at the right time with the right people in the right possible way is everything has to align for you to be able to make those informed decision making faster.
And I guess, how do you balance this desire for simplicity, but also knowing that the insurance industry, has a decent level of compliance, and you need to have like, responsible governance. So one could argue that those are kind of like separate concerns, simplicity versus, making sure that things are done the right way, which adds a bit of complexity. So how do you think about balancing those two views together?
To be honest, do I know everything? I don't. But what I should know as a chief data officer to maintain compliance against the data landscape, the way I look at it is very simple. I don't look at compliance and data goals as two separate things. I look it as one item, right? It's one agenda. Making data perfect is not my aim, right? Giving data or making data usable is my aim. It's two different things, right? I'm not aiming perfection here. I'm giving more usable data, useful data, and then doing it whilst complying to all the regulations, but also ethical considerations is very important, right? Because you're building data for future, not for like tomorrow and just for this dashboard. So that's how I look at it. I look at it for a long term perspective. I look at it as a future of how we are transforming the business. And that makes the game change.
And well, and in the spirit of innovation, what gets you excited at the moment? Like, is there a particular trend in the industry that you're personally excited about that could meaningfully contribute to the work that you do?
When I look at it, like how all those innovations, today we have what Gen AI, we have we didn't have anything like that called 5 years back, right? We had AIs, we had machine learning, right? We had data science before that. So we are developing these terms, right? These are terms, but what in essence I see that it's not just an artificial intelligence we are developing. We're developing a like for like for a human brain, right? Like how we think, how we solve problems smartly, fastly, right? Without getting fatigue, right? Like, without getting fatigue and tired. That's all fantastic, right? But tomorrow's workforce is not all about like replacing me with an AI, right? Like it's all about like making me use AI better and smarter. So I'm kind of like interested in that. Like, how can I use AI to achieve the same goals, but more smarter and faster rather than replacing actually me or my team with AI. So I look at it from an angle where AI and me want to do the same thing, but let me use AI to do that. So that's the trend which I'm looking at.
Indy, I'd love to ask you maybe a quick fire round of question and take in different directions. So one is there anything that you feel like contrarian about in the industry, like something that, you know, you feel strong against?
You don't need to scale everything before you actually make what you want. Like it's data is not about like, oh, let me get everything in a central platform. No, it's about like what do you actually really want. You don't need to be a superpower and ultimate control, right? Like, so I'm very contrary about it. Where you need to federate, you can federate data, right? It's the best thing to do. You don't need to control every single data which runs in an organization. Not everything should be centralized. And it's the same, it's all great to have self-serve analytics and everything, but it's not always about centralization of analytics as well, right? Like, you need to know what you can and what you don't, because you don't need to give power of all data to everybody around. I think you need to monitor who's using what, and as I said to you, it leads to decision paralysis in a lot of time by giving more data actually to someone. So that's all my contrary view, and I'm sure we are overhyping a lot of things like remediating data quality and everything, but many people have spoken about it in the previous for me it's more about like you don't need to have like as a data office or a data person, you don't need to control every single data in the organization. You need to scale only what you have to scale. Your adoption's more important.
And next question is, the world is moving so fast. Like you said, like new models, new approaches. How do you stay up to date as a leader? Like, do you have like a support network? Do you read regularly? Like, what are the approach you use personally?
I often don't get time to read a lot, but I listen to a lot. Like podcasts are an example. Like I do listen to
Nice.
a lot of podcasts and quick video clips. I love it. But I do, so I do a lot of peer to peer networking. I lead from behind, but also I actually actively try to see what is going on, who's doing what, like, and I try to learn, because you can always learn from your peers better, because they must have gone in the same road before you, or they must have gone on a different road which is very similar to yours, and they can tell you where to go, where not to go. So I try to learn from everybody I see, be it my peer, be somebody who's coming to an interview with me, or somebody who's joined you in my team. It's that curiosity, right? Like that takes you places, be it data or anything you want to do in life. I think I'm super, super curious. Like, I'm meeting you today, Rahul, right? I'm learning that how calm and composed you are whilst actually throwing those ax questions to me. So I'm learning that, right? Like, tomorrow I might have my own podcast and I will learn a lot from you. Who knows?
Yeah, I love your willingness to be open, curious, and having a learning mindset generally, right? I think that's super important. Hey, Indy, I've got a couple more personal questions. Let me get going. So, what was your favorite subject back in school?
Maths.
All right, cool. And if you had to pick one programming language that you like or gets you excited, what would it be?
No code, low code. I actually
All
don't
right.
need programming languages. I wasn't good with it, to be honest. And I did learn programming languages, as you know. Like, we are all from an era we learned like C, C++, from there to now. However, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of programming language because I wasn't personally good at it.
Yeah, I mean, I love the contrarian answer again, right? Low code, no code. It's true that the world's moved on quite a lot, and with just English, you can do a lot now. So, I mean, that's fair. Final question. What's your favorite music genre?
Oh, this is tough. This is tough. I actually listen to everything and anything, but if you ask me, I'm gonna tell you pop music. I actually
Pop
like pop
music.
music.
Very cool. Pop music it is. Well, Indy, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me, and thanks for being so patient with me all this time. Thank you very much.
Really enjoyed my conversation with Indy today. She's such a lovely person. And there's a few things that really stood out of the conversation. The first one is, as part of your transformation, you need to win people's hearts and minds. You know, you deliver change, you got to bring people on the journey. It's not easy, it's challenging, but super rewarding when you sit in practice. So love that. Next, when we talked about objectives, one objective was simplify, make data accessible, and encourage adoption, right? As simple as that. What is success? Simplicity and adoption. It's really good to have those kind of like simple North Stars to follow. And finally, we talked a little bit about contrarian view in the industry, and there's clearly a lot of people that are excited about scaling things immediately and perhaps not thinking things through completely or taking really extreme views. For example, we've got to centralize everything and that's the only way to do it. Actually, in this perspective, which I really appreciate, you got to be pragmatic. You got to make things work for people, for the business, and there are trade-offs, and that's okay. Make it pragmatic. So thank you, everybody. See you on the next episode. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Data and AI Mastery. If you found value in today's discussion, make sure to subscribe so you never miss an insight from the leaders driving the future of data and AI. And if you're a data and AI leader looking to upskill your workforce with the fundamental data and AI skills to transform your business, Cambridge Spark is here to guide you every step of the way. Be sure to reach out to us on LinkedIn or on our website, cambridgespark.com. Until then, be sure to keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible with data, and remember, mastery comes with continued learning and action. Until next time, stay ahead, stay inspired, and stay masterful.